McGrath comes in, it's on its way, it's there! The miracle on grass!
Owen with a kick to full forward, Cloak, not quite, Blair, Collingwood, back in front.
The seed, he delays the give, Franklin, this is Buddy Franklin! This is the greatest showman! Poor fans can't bear to watch. They led by 28 points at one stage, but the perfect storm is erupted. Oh, who else? McDonald!
Watch out because the Richmond Tigers, they might be back, and that is going to spell disaster for everyone in the comp, including Samoa Joe on Sunday. And the Eston Bombers, they go ahead, they finally get a win, and St. Kilda continues to crumble almost a little bit. Are they going to be falling out? They're hanging on by a sliver, by a thread on the 8th spot. We're going to talk about them as well. And the best rivalry in footy, I don't care what you say, I am biased and I'm proud of it. The GWS Giants and the Western Bulldogs, that one goes down in a hell of a game. Toby Green sets a career record for him, but that's not enough because the Giants are just not very good apparently. And, man, horrible round for tipping, and it's not going to get any easier when it comes to round 15 because for the first time in a while, or maybe ever, I kind of forget. I think, Donnie, you said ever, right? We're getting the top 8 teams playing each other, and it's the first 4 games of the round. This is going to be insane. This is going to make or break seasons, and we're going to have to break that down and more because it's time for our breakdown for AFL Round 14. Of course, I'm your host, Ross Allen, joined alongside by the best in the business, Coach Donnie. And Coach, how are we feeling after what was just it was just an unpredictable round of footy? I had no idea what was going on at any time.
Oh, if you look at our tipping, if you look back at our last round and look at our tipping videos, we look like a couple of numpties. It's like no other, because I found it funny. I was reaching out to a friend of mine online who just like us was 0-3 to start the week. I was like, you have to be kidding me. We are 0 in 6-game rounds. We are 0-3 to start off. All three.
So
what many people would say with locked picks, like picks most people picked, did not turn out to be good, with especially the Essendon over St. Kilda in the Friday night. Absolute shocker. But I look at it and it just makes this round even that much more tantalizing because it now leaves a few teams sitting on that knife's edge of, are they going to make the finals? Are they not? You've got some questions going into it. You've got a ton of drama in a couple of clubs that, I mean, a few weeks ago you would have said they're sailing, they're looking really, really good, and some drama now could cause a lot of headaches for a couple of teams. So this last stretch run here over these last 8 to 9 games are going to be fascinating, because there are some teams that their beef of their schedule is now. There's some teams that their hardest part of their schedule is gone. They have a lot easier schedule the rest of the season. But after rounds like this, I agree with what one person said. I think this league is much more compact than it ever has been, to the point where if you have one off day, it could cost you a win. So, oh my gosh, I cannot wait for this round of footy and the rest of these rounds to get to the finals, because it is going to be exciting.
Yeah, I think the whole league's going to explode. The ladder is going to be snapped in half, and there's just going to be chaos for the rest of the season. That's what I'm hoping for, because that would make me happy. The Giants aren't playing for anything right now, so fingers crossed for chaos. If we want to bring back that statement I had, I think it's round 4 of the season. That's all I am at this point, because I'm a horrible person, apparently. But what we got for you guys today is, I'm super happy Donnie thinks this, and we got a very intriguing set of overreactions for you guys. We're going to take a look at the top 10 of the ladder and name these teams contenders or pretenders. I got a little bit of another version of a little trivia for Donnie. We're calling fact or fiction. And then we're going to hop into what the blank, because the Tigers are red hot. There's some teams that deserve an A so far this season, some that definitely do not. And there's some teams that I just don't have a whole lot of confidence right now. Unfortunately, it may include the team I was super hot on and the team that Donnie is a giant fan of. So, not great for either one of us at this point. But before we get into things, of course, go ahead, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, at Fourth Lawn Media. You can follow Donnie over at Coach Has 40 on both platforms as well. We are everywhere. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Rumble, Anchor, all that fun stuff. Follow, subscribe. Whatever the button tells you to do it. Just listen, please. That would do me a great favor. Or you can catch everything at thefourthandlong.com. Especially, look at you guys, especially you Aussies. You got a new citizen join the fold in the greatest footy player, at least American footy player of all time. Now we can name Mason Cox as the greatest American Australian footy player of all time. His accolades just keep lining up. So what better way to show your love for him and your support for the big man than by plastering on the back of your shirt? I'm wearing it right now and can't turn around. But plastering how much you love Big Cox. So go on over to thefourthandlong.com/apparel. Get your shirt in today because you need to. Go ahead. Support your fellow countrymen. Support your I can say that for both countries now, so go do that. Make yourself happy. But before we hop into overreactions here, of course, it's time for Hess's headlines. What you got in store for us this round, Coach?
Oh man, it's a great headline. Some newspapers would have enjoyed this weekend. Let's start off. First one, it's hard not to argue. We kind of just already talked about it a little bit. Is upsets rule the weekend as two finals teams worry about their finals chances as both Sydney and St. Kilda thoroughly and completely stumble this round and leave themselves very vulnerable still in the bottom part of the 8 to maybe not make the final. So they are going to be an intriguing, and conveniently what happens, they play each other this round. So it'll be fascinating to see what team over the last 2 weeks will potentially get 0 points out of the 8 possible there. It'll be absolutely interesting to watch that particular matchup. We'll discuss that a little bit later. We jump to it. Geelong beat a much stronger Eagles team to solidify their top 4 chances. But I'm almost going to go away a little bit from the Geelong part of this. I'm going to say this right now. If you have the Eagles on your schedule, I would be a little bit terrified because they are getting healthy. They're getting back on the track, and they are starting to play much more West Coast Eagles football. Keep an eye on this. The Eagles, along with the Adelaide Crows, Gold Coast Suns, and some of these teams like Hawthorn are going to be the teams that are going to decipher who is and isn't going to be playing finals this year. Going off the game that I know you watched probably pretty heavily, and that's Doggies win, but defensively frailties could cost them a finals spot. As much as a 100, both teams scoring 100 points in that game between the Doggies and the Giants.
Talk about that. It was a great game.
It depends on what you classify as a great game. If you like scoring, this was a fantastic game.
I'll be diplomatic. It was a entertaining game. How about that? Does that work?
I will agree with you on that one. That was absolutely an entertaining game for sure. Whether it was a great game or not, again, depends on what you classify as entertaining. But I'm worried if I'm a Duggies fan, I am very, very worried that this team gives up way too many points, way too often. And if they can't outscore them, they're going to find themselves watching the finals instead of being in them. So we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on that.
I want to see them versus Brisbane right now, because both teams, they definitely know offense. Defense, I don't know. They might have to read a textbook there on what it means. Defense for dummies. Do they have that?
I don't think Bevo or Coach Fagan would be too kind to the having to read the defense for dummies for footy on that one. But
they'll ship you over there. They'll be good.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating. And last but not least, I'm going to give a shout out. We gave him a shout out last time. We're going to continue the shout out. Gold Coast Suns. Suns shine as they keep their finals chances alive. And again, just an absolutely fantastic game. And I don't know if you saw this. Did you see the awesome story of the footy player whose grandfather came from Japan, was able to watch the game? Not only did his grandson kick a goal in the game, but they were able to get him in the rooms where he was able to join in the team song Those are the stories you absolutely love seeing. It's another reason. Oh yeah, just get it, absolutely sends tingles up your spine for sure. And it's just another reason. It gives you another reason to like this Gold Coast Suns team. And again, I'm hearing more and more talk. Stewie Dew and the Suns are in negotiations for a contract extension. I agree with some of the media saying that maybe the Suns should wait, make sure at the end of the season to see how the Suns season ends, because they have done this before. They've been in finals contention and have fallen off a cliff. So we'll have to see how the rest of the season goes. But Stewie Dew has got a very good argument to be able to say, hey, I've got this team humming. I've got this team playing well. I think I deserve a contract extension. If it were me, as long as they don't fall off a cliff at the end of this season, I have a hard time not seeing Stewie Dew not staying in Gold Coast and continuing to be the coach there. And that is my headlines.
Well, you know my thoughts on Stewie Dew. It's it just kind of goes, how do I put this? Pay the man, okay? It's that simple. Let's go ahead. He deserves it. If the Suns don't want to give it to him, I know there's plenty of clubs out there that would love to have him. Shout out to the GWS Giants. Maybe, just maybe, the Suns are dumb enough and don't resign, so we do. So, well, I'll definitely take a lot more than just hoping, though. You know, there would have to be disaster there. But I can dream, right?
Everybody can dream. Everybody can dream, especially in that situation.
I'm just keeping hope in places where I probably shouldn't be. But we're going to head on over to the overreactions for this round. For those that don't know how this works, I got 3 statements for Coach Johnny here, and it's up to him to determine if it is indeed an overreaction or if there's actually some truth to it. And I love the lineup that we got up here. And of course, sound off in the comments. Hit us up over on socials, your thoughts on these as well, to determine if you think they're an overreaction or not. But first things first, let's throw it down to one of the more surprising results of the round, and that is the Swans' power. So statement number 1, Donnie, is that the Swans' power game was a bigger loss for Sydney rather than a bigger win for Port.
I love your wording on this because it does leave a little bit of wiggle room for both ways. But honestly, I would flip it. I would say it is not an overreaction. The Port's win was bigger than the Swans' loss, because I think the Swans do have some winnable games late in the season. I think they can keep themselves in the finals. I think their chances of top 4 are gone. Like, I just don't think they're there. I think they're not playing enough high-level teams. I just think some of the top teams will stay there. I still think they'll make finals. I think this loss was more for me, was Port showing Port is back to kind of being Port. And I know so many Ports there, but let me explain. I said at the start of the season, this Port team, if you look at its list, is a finals team, is a top 4 team, is a flag contender type of team. The issue I had with them, especially a lot this year, was they just had injuries after COVID protocol, after injury, after COVID protocol, after bad form, after injury.
So bad
that the first 5 games of the season, they dug a half a mile hole in the ground and they went, oh yeah, we're supposed to be playing footy, aren't we? Right. And they're now starting to kind of.
It wasn't like small backup players, being out. It was arguably one of the best defensemen in the league, or I would say the greatest intercept marker in the league, and then one of the best offensive guys in Ollie Wines. It's those are 2 big gaps out of your roster.
Well, it was kind of the bookends of their field. You had your awesome defender in Alir, and your Charlie Dixon, your full forward. Those were your 2 bookends, and when they were both gone, they were both rudderless and sailless. Like, they couldn't score and they couldn't defend. They're both there. They're both playing better. And the scary part about it is that Port Adelaide team was doing it with a lot of inexperience, with a lot more inexperience on the field. Travis Boak was out because of protocols. Robbie Gray did not kind of respond to the bye week as well as they thought he would be. So he was still fighting some knee soreness. So that's why he didn't play. And then you also look at it too, is they had some injury issues weeks before. So it'll be fascinating to see. But honestly, I think this is an overreaction in the original wording. I don't think it's as bad a loss for the Swans as some people think, because I think Port is a much better team than their record. Like, they should not be where they are. They should probably be where the Swans are. if you're honest with you look at their list, they
At
should
least above
probably
St.
be in
Kilda.
the exactly. Well, at least in the finals,
Yeah.
at least for sure.
Yeah,
So
I'd say.
I don't.
St.
I
Kilda's
think
hanging there
this
at
is
32. Port Adelaide sitting at 24. So just
exactly.
really just a
So
couple
they're
of games
still
back.
two games back.
Yeah, and
Yep.
I
So
could
they're still
easily
2 games back.
if anyone's going to drop out right now, it definitely feels like St. Kilda is going to. Just because off of recent form, Sydney has a better chance of hanging on. But Port Adelaide, the three teams in front of them right now is Gold Coast, the Western Bulldogs, and Collingwood. And then St. Kilda right there. It's very, you could really see them jumping all four of those teams.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So as the original writing, I think it's an overreaction. If you change it, it's not. Like I said, if you say that the Powers win is bigger than the Swans loss, then I would say not an overreaction, because I really do think the Power really kept themselves in the finals contention, winning that game.
Well, we take a look. If they lost this game, they're
done.
Just about.
They're done.
Yeah,
they're three games back, and there's no way they can make it up.
They
like
legitimately.
You ask most Port fans in SA, they lose that game, it's their season is over.
Yep.
It doesn't matter where they finish because they aren't going to make finals. It's over. Hinkley's most likely gone because he wouldn't have made finals after 2 consecutive years making to a prelim final. Legitimately, that win saves Hinkley's job for a little bit longer and keeps Port in the conversation for finals. Again, It's not easy. They're going to have to pretty much go, of these last 9 games, I think they got to go 7-2 at the worst. Like they almost have to go 9-0 to get in, because now they're going to get lucky. Like I said, St. Kilda, Sydney this week, one of them is going to lose. So most likely the one that loses will be out of the finals by the end of this round.
You say that now, but now they're going to draw because you jinxed it. Unbelievable, Donnie. I'm blaming you right now.
Just whoever loses, I legitimately, unless it's like the only other way that they may stay in is if they get a draw, because you get the extra half a game.
Oh, that'd be
like
so irritating if you're a Port fan.
It would be irritating, but it would be somewhat a blessing for disguise at the end, at the bottom of the 8, if they both get a draw, because it gives them a half a game buffer.
Oh no, good for them. But imagine you're Port Adelaide, you're sending 2 points out of finals when it's all said and done.
Yep,
that would be hell.
By that, so. We'll have to see, like I said. But honestly, Port, that was every game the rest of the season is an elimination final. They have to win. If they lose and they go 3 games back, it's over. There's just no way I see them catching up.
I guess,
unfortunately.
If you take I guess technically, mathematically, you might be able to get away with 6-3, but that's cutting
but you're going to need a ton of help. You're going to need a ton of help.
But the only difference is some of the teams ahead of them right now, I think they're going to get some help based on recent form. Maybe at least from one finals team that's currently up there. So they might luck out. It's going to take a lot for Port to make the finals, though, but luckily for them, their hopes are still alive. That's more than I could say for my team right now. So it kind of is what it is. But saying to this next statement here, Drama Factory Collingwood, and especially Drama Factory for your lone individual player, Jordan DeGoey. My word, can you make a headline for them every single week? And they're not great ones as well if you're looking for the club's perspective. But this is going with statement number 2. Some trouble in Bali, man. But Jordan DeGoey will not be on a team at the start of next season.
Oh boy,
a lot of questions this whole season on his free agency, man.
Okay,
it's not
I've expressed this opinion for Collingwood Magpies fans that are watching this again. Take my opinion with a little bit of grain of salt, because I am gonna say this. He's on my shit list, because honestly, I'm one of those. I hear all these people, well, you got to give these guys a second chance. Well, no shit. I understand giving people a second chance, but this is his 4th or 5th chance. And I'm one of those, after a while, one time is okay. That's a mistake. 3 times is a pattern. And that's the part that frustrates me. Like, and it's not just because I am a huge supporter of AFLW, so I'm looking at it a little bit on, is the disrespect of women is another thing that really gets my gourd. that this isn't the first time that this has happened where he's done something to a woman, no matter if it was okay with it or not. I don't care.
New York wasn't great
Legitimately, I do not care. Do not care. That is despicable behavior. I'm sorry, Collingwood. You should not have let him go. And I'm for the people that'll go, well, the clubs can't tell him what he can and can't do. Are they paying him to play footy? Yes. Then yes, they can tell him what he can and can't do. They have a financial backing on this player for him to be on the field and doing what he's supposed to do, and that's being an AFL player. So no, I disagree with this argument that he's his own human. No, as a player, man. As soon as you sign that contract, the player kind of owns your ass. The team kind of owns your ass, not 100%. And I get there will be some people that will say, they're paying this guy a lot of money. They need to be able to tell him, Jordan, pull your head in, don't go to Bali, don't do something stupid. Stay here, go to country Victoria, find a B&B, don't drink, don't record it, and don't do anything stupid.
I think that's the biggest point right there, Donnie. Don't record it. It's like, that's the dumbest thing. I don't get it.
It is the only point where I somewhat feel sorry for him. It is. It really is the one because it's kind of like many of the superstars over here in the States. Phones will record as soon as they see somebody famous. So if you're famous, don't put yourself in that opportunity. I know you want to live your life. I understand it. But there also comes to a point, it's like, do you really want to live your life being the subject of a video that could potentially go on nightly news that could cost you money?
Maybe at least wait till the off season.
Well, even in the off season, I mean, we see it all the time over here. A DUI by a player, I mean, it becomes the scarlet letter on. I mean, that's just the way it is. So it's like I almost agree with one person, especially over here in the States, not so much in Australia because the finances are just not there. Over here in the States, if you're a superstar athlete that's making $2 million, why aren't you having somebody drive you to and from places?
And the funny thing is, like the league where we see all these issues happen, DUIs, NFL, you guys are horrible with this. Shout out Vegas. Damn. The NFL actually has drivers for players. That's a thing that they do. They just don't use them because they're stupid. All right. So if you have, here, moral of the story for anyone listening, if you have resources at your disposal, use them. I don't think it's that wild of a statement.
So to answer your question,
and don't record yourself doing stupid stuff too.
So to answer your question again, this is a little bit of me. I don't think so. Like, unfortunately, okay, my common sense, the way the AFL runs itself, he'll find himself a team. He will, because people will see. I'm hearing St. Kilda, but St. Kilda has even kind of went.
Kind of backed up on it.
They've kind of don't argue that discussion point a little bit. Man. I mean, Collingwood straight up grabbed the contract, ripped it up, and threw it in the bin. I mean, that's what they did. They had a contract offer on him, and as soon as all this stuff happened, the contract goes bye-bye. I mean, it's ripped up and it's in the bin.
Good move. Good job, guys. Maybe
which I think is
Coxmore.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, you do agree. Pay Mason Coxmore, right?
No, but I think honestly he'll find a place in the AFL. I don't agree with it. I think this dude, he's got a pattern. If the ADHD argument, which again I put in, and again I've seen some people like, why are we questioning his ADHD? Because there are people with ADHD that don't make the same mistake 5, 6, and 7 times in a row. So after a while, especially when it's not come out, it's never been used, and now all of a sudden he's going to talk about it. It makes you question a little bit. Again,
the timing is suspicious.
Exactly, also and that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I don't think he does have it. The timing and the placement of it just sounds like an excuse. And for somebody that actually legitimately does have this issue, it is only making it harder for them to positively be diagnosed because of stuff like this.
And it's
and that's
I
the
understand
issue I have with it.
if he has legitimate like mental health illness, and that's
Then
definitely
why is he playing? Then why is he playing footy?
that's one
Why
thing.
is
But
he
it's
playing
also
footy?
like if he
Why
has
is he allowed to go to Bali?
if it's a legitimate
I
thing,
just don't understand.
obviously that's a current concern. Obviously, you want him to get better, but also if he legitimately does have it, I still don't think that's a legitimate excuse to make these mistakes every single time. You should be able to do something about it. And Collingwood is
I've
doing
seen
something
some
about it now,
I've seen some
understanding
podcasts with people that have ADHD that even they're like, yeah, that's not a legitimate reason.
I've never heard
So-
of that before. that caused to go
So
party at Bali.
there've been some pinholes in that particular excuse balloon a little bit. So
Hey,
and
nothing
again,
like signing a doctor, a couple meat pies and getting you a fake prescription.
I don't know. We'll have to see. I just
Oh,
like I
man.
said,
It's a mess.
I'm one of those. I want legitimate mental health issues that can be fully diagnosed and be proven, not just thrown out there to try to save your own buttocks from the you know what whooping that was his life for the last 3 days
Yep.
because of everything that happened. And I don't think the media has made a circus out of it. I think the media is just doing their job because it's a story. It's a superstar player doing something really, really stupid on the internet and getting called out for it. That's just plain and simply it. Do I think DeGoey will be on a like? I don't think this is an overreaction that Jordan DeGoey could not play. I unfortunately, I know this product and I know the clubs. They're going to see what he can do on the field, not what an idiot he is off the field at times, and they're going to throw money at him.
Exactly.
And I don't agree with it. If I was a general manager or a wish or a list manager, I would be like, yeah, no,
don't want that.
Nope, I'm not interested at all. Jordan, to go to a team that actually wants you. I have no interest in anything that you've got to bring. What you bring on the field is not worth the headache off the field.
Yep. If Deshaun Watson could get $250 million guaranteed and a job here in the States, Jordan DeGoey could get a few hundreds of thousands of dollars on him as well. But speaking about mistakes, let's talk about St. Kilda over the last couple of rounds, particularly this round. They drop a big one. The Dons drop a bomb on St. Kilda. And so with that being said, last statement of the week, Donnie, St. Kilda will not finish inside the top 10.
This is one several weeks ago I'd have said you're crazy, but looking at their schedule,
look at their schedule, man.
Oh man,
that's a killer.
It is a murderer's row to the point where legitimately I don't think this is an overreaction that they'll be outside the top 10 because I mean just looking at it, they play Sydney this week up at the SCG. Then you get Carleton, Fremantle, the Western Bulldogs, a rejuvenated West Coast Eagles, Hawthorn, Geelong, Brisbane, Sydney.
Maybe 3.
Wow.
Maybe 3.
Wow. I'll say it again.
Damn.
Wow. Like there is not one. I don't even think there's 3. I don't think there's one easy game. There's not one easy game in that entire stretch.
I would say there's
not one.
2 to 3 winnable games. No, still
nope.
Wow. Okay,
nope.
I'm giving it too much credit.
One maybe. One
with
maybe.
West Coast.
One. I think it's Hawthorn. I think Hawthorn has hit a wall. I think Hawthorn might have hit a wall. People have kind of figured out them a little bit. With West Coast getting back all the guys that they are getting, and the game is at Optus Stadium.
Yeah.
Another thing that I'm going to put that there. They're going to be underdogs against Sydney this week. They'll be underdogs against Carleton next week. They'll be underdogs even at home at Marvel against the Dockers. They will be. Doggies, I think by then, if the Doggies win a couple of games, they'll be underdogs in that game. They'll only be favored in 2 games, the West Coast and the Hawthorn game, but the West Coast game, keep an eye on it. I'll say it right now. That would be my upset tip of the round if it gets to that. If St. Kilda is struggling and the West Coast is playing better. Hawthorn, even at Marvel, I think they'll be favored, but Hawthorn will give them a test. And then Geelong, Brisbane, Sydney. I mean, come on. I mean, you could walk out of this stretch, worst case scenario, absolute worst, 1-7 to end the season. There's no way they make finals. And I agree. There's no way they make top 10.
No.
if that happens.
Top 10 is
So
the game
I
we're in
don't
right now.
think this is an overreaction just because you look at their schedule. This is a murderer's row.
They have to have one of the hardest ones. They have to have one of the hardest schedules to close out the season. I guess I'm playing.
I believe either them or Melbourne are the two teams that I've heard the most talk
right now. That
of being the hardest schedule to end the season. So
I guess the thing here, maybe I'm playing, do a little bit of Mr. Brightside for St. Kilda and for their sake. I can see wins against Carlton, West Coast, and Hawthorn. Everything else does not seem very likely. I guess if I really want to go on a limb here, I can see 4 with Sydney, just based off how both of them have been playing recently. Obviously, I won't tip St. Kilda against Sydney, but I can see that happening. I think best case here, St. Kilda goes 4-5 and drops out of the top 10. Worst case scenario, they're ending the season 0-9, and honestly, that wouldn't surprise me that much either.
That's also possible too. And just to look up, we were talking about hardest. We were talking about hardest schedule. This is Melbourne. This is Melbourne's schedule to end the season, and I only see one game that I'm sitting here going, I'm super confident for the Demons, and this is the Demons here. Brisbane Lions this week, Adelaide Crows at Adelaide Oval, Geelong at GMHBA, Port Adelaide at basically it's a home game, but I can't remember. It's a TP, so I have to double check where that game is at. Marvel Stadium versus the Western Bulldogs, Fremantle Dockers at Optus Stadium, MCG Melbourne versus Collingwood, MCG Carlton, and GABA Brisbane Lions to end the season.
Ooh.
That's the D's run home to the end of the season.
Damn.
So I'm going to throw this out there. Lee Montagna at first crack, and even in the midweek rub throughout, there's a chance. There is a chance. I don't think it'll happen, but there's a chance. The D's could fall out of the A's. There is a chance. If their struggles continue, Max Gawn not being there, they could fall out of the top.
It's got at least another 3 games without Max Gawn too, huh?
Maybe they'll be without Max Gawn. Though the first week of the month would be last week, so 3 more weeks. So that means the Brisbane, Adelaide, and Geelong games will be the 3 guaranteed games he's out. Depending on how his rehab goes, will he be in for that Port game or not? And that Port game is scary for Melbourne if Port is still in the running, because Port will give them hell. So,
wow. So, not a great time to be a D's fan. Hey, at least you guys got your flag. Dynasty, hope so. Apparently, leave that to Richmond. And St. Kilda, man, especially after how they ended last season, I was really hoping they were able to be a little bit more consistent, keep things going this round. It looked like this year, it looked like they were doing that the first half of the season. The last 2 rounds, it's kind of dispelled all notions about that one, so it's going to be tough to see. But that's going to do it for our overreactions for this round. Let us know your thoughts in the comments or hit us up over on socials. What was bigger for Sydney in that Sydney Power game? The Power winning or the Swans losing? Is Jordan DeGoey going to be rostered by the start of next season? And is St. Kilda going to drop out the top 10? Maybe the better question is, how many games do they win? Because it's probably not going to be as many as those fans hope that it will be. But before we get to what the blank for this round, it's time to play a couple of games, and we're going to start things off with Contender or Pretender. And now it's the time of the season for that. It's a back half. We're out of the bye week, so it's time to really lock in to see who is for real and who is not. Because we're going to go through the top 10 here and the current top 10 and really see who is a contender and who is a pretender. And in this case, I am not talking, there's a couple of ways we can play this time. I am not talking finals contender. I'm talking flag contender. We're going big here. We're going flag legitimate statement contender here. All right. So
Mhm.
I'm probably not going to get as many yeses as you thinking for just finals, but that's where the fun comes in to see who is legit this last half of the season. But start us off number 10, currently sitting at that spot on the ladder. We got the Western Bulldogs. Johnny, can they win the flag?
Uh, Current form, no. This is a pretender because defensively they are just too fragile. They if they don't win it in the midfield and if they don't kick goals, they're not going to win games because they can't hold people down. And the GWS game was perfect excuse to that. Their defense is okay. It's just not elite enough to be able to hold teams down. So when it comes to final and flag contenders, they're a pretender in my opinion.
Now, stepping up it to number 9, the Collingwood Magpies. Of course they are. Anyone with Mason Cox is a guaranteed flag contender, right?
Oh, Collingwood. I'm gonna say pretender only because I think that they're riding the wave, and I am worried, really worried that the Jordan DeGoey, Jack Ginnivan, and Isaac Quaynor dramas on TikTok,
Oh, the
I think
TikTok drama.
I think
Damn.
are going I think could be they could be huge anchors to this team over the next few rounds because people are going to not be talking about their great form, but be talking about can they win without Jordy? Can they win? Can they win without Jordan DeGoey on it? And I don't think Jordan DeGoey is that impactful a player. He's
I
too
don't think either.
inconsistent, in my opinion.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
Is he a match winner? Yes, but I kind of put him in that same category as Jake Stringer.
Not sure if he's worth his contract at
They
this
can be
point.
match winners that are absolutely a pain in the you know what to solve and can help you win. But they can have games where they disappear into the night and you have no idea what they're doing, but they ain't doing anything positive.
They're not doing what they're getting paid to do. That's for damn sure.
So not having him there, the discussion points. I'm gonna put Collingwood in the pretender. I think in the next couple of years, if they keep this group together, keep them strong, keep them healthy, then Collingwood's being discussed in that flag contender. I just think this year getting in the finals will be an accomplishment, and I don't mean that as a diss to the Collingwood Magpies. I just think that's an accomplishment because new coach, kind of a change to their system, a change in style. It's worked, but will it sustain itself to be consistent is the biggest question.
That's a good one right there. I think we know our answer for our next team. Breaking into the finals now, and taking a look at 8 team. St. Kilda, definitely contenders, right?
St. Kilda, again, current form, I'm going off of pretender. I don't like the way their midfield is played.
That they've looked this season, it's still
there's still some holes that I don't like, and the fact that the king that oh my gosh, why can I never remember what King is on St. Kilda? My gosh, Max King, if I remember correctly,
the longer
Max
hair,
King,
right?
Max King is on St. Kilda. He's just too inconsistent. He's an incredible marking forward, but he's just too inconsistent. I think, and the fact that Higgins and Butler are not consistent as well, you got to be pretty darn consistent come finals because missing kicks on goal really hurt you in the finals even more. So I think St. Kilda is a pretender, but they're one of those teams on their best, they can beat anybody. But on their worst, they can be beaten by anybody,
including North Melbourne. Stepping up to number 7, I feel like that's being included there because even that's a stretch. Number 7, a team that is another one of those when, but even a step above St. Kilda. When they're on, they are on in the Sydney Swans, but when they're off, they've been off a little bit. But even when they're off, they're still normally close games here. But the Sydney Swans, contender, pretender.
Oh, this hurts my heart so much, but I'm gonna say pretender because of their inconsistencies. I said it a little bit. Was last year a little bit of them catching teams off guard, them catching the competition by surprise of the change in style because they went from a kind of a halfback slingshot defensive style team to a quick ball movement pinpoint kicking team. And I think it caught some teams off guard last year. And I think it really helped them win a lot of games that they weren't expecting to win, especially early in the year. This year, teams have kind of figured it out, and some defensive frailties and some just plain brain fades by the Swans defensively, giving up huge goal markers, 9 goals, 7 goals, 6 goals, 6 goals, 8 goals. You can't do that. You just can't. Will they make finals? I think they can. I think they're just consistent enough. They'll get in. I just don't think we see them past the. I just don't think we see them past the semifinals. I think prelims is the furthest they go, and that's a stretch because of some of the teams that are ahead of them. So I'm going to say pretender. But if I'm as a Swans fan, I'm going to put my Swans hat on just for a tiny second. Keep an eye out, because if they get consistent, then they could be deadly over these next 2 or 3 seasons.
I don't think Sydney's dead for the next for this season, even for that. But also, the same thing is something you talked about as well. They're kind of early. They're pretty early on their team building here. They haven't peaked, and especially if you're just looking from a club management perspective as well. They were not expecting the Sydney Swans to be this good this soon. So
well, and can I throw in this little tiny bit of information? And I know several people might have already seen this. Sydney and Buddy Franklin are already in talks for a 1-year contract extension.
Even better.
And by what I'm hearing, it could be a significant pay cut, which would then open up money to be able to afford their youngsters to keep them in, and not to shake the cage of the Victorian media, but that money could also be used to bring in Dusty Martin if they wanted to.
It's happening.
Let's again, unfortunately, I'm still hearing way too many journos talking about it, which means it's still in discussion points, which means there's still the biggest thing will be financially. How will it happen? Because Buddy's not going to drop all of his finances. I mean, half is a significant decrease. But does Sydney have the salary cap room to bring in Dusty and not cost themselves a youngster? So that'll be the watch and see over this offseason this year.
Screw it, Donnie. I'm on board.
Is who
Dusty to Sydney?
We'll have to see.
I'll shoot the gun.
I'm hesitant on that one, honestly.
Yeah,
I'm hesitant on that one, and I've said that, and I will continue to say that.
If you guys really want to hear more in-depth talks about that, I think this news story kind of came up I think about a month ago is when a lot of people really started to talk about it. So that's over on our YouTube channel, Dusty Martin to the Swans. We give our 10 minutes in-depth talking about that one as well. Donnie does a great job breaking down everything. We give our full thoughts, so go ahead, check that video out. But speaking about Dusty Martin, contender pretender, the Richmond Tigers sitting pretty number 6. They make the biggest jump this round when it comes to finals in ladder position. They might be catching fire right now, Donnie.
Well, here's my first, honestly. If Richmond can play their style, and that's that chaos footy, they are a contender. And this is an interesting. For some people, this is not a surprising call, because Richmond's style holds up in finals footy because it's chaos. There's much more heat. There's much more pressure, and their style works because they play the forge it forward, use their hand, use their skill, and then be able to bury it when they can. They are a contender, in my opinion, because again, their style and they have the experience. But I'm still a little hesitant because they've struggled sometimes with some of the better teams in the 8. So will they even get that opportunity will be the biggest question. By what they can. I'm kind of, and this is really weird because I've been saying on form. This is not an on form call. This is on past and what I've seen.
It's
this
a potential.
Season.
It's a potential call.
They are a contender if they play their style. If they get forced to play somebody else's, they won't. So
of course,
contender because of experience and what they can do in the finals with their style.
And it will also help when it comes to finals for them that it's looking very likely that there's going to be a extra spot open at the top 4 for them to scoot themselves on into once Melbourne kind of falls out.
They're jumping all over that one.
Yeah, I'm just going to do it. But number 5, the Carlton Blues.
This is, again, you look at it, 5th place on the ladder, 36 points, but the low percentage of 112, which is the lowest of any of the top 8 sides. I think they're a pretender.
Carlton's weird, man.
because of the injuries
Mm-hmm.
and because they have shown frailties. Again, because of those injuries, that might cost them some games, which may put them in the bottom part of the 8. And it is very, very difficult to win a grand final and get to a grand final as a 5th through 8th seed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say Carleton is a pretender because I just think these injuries are going to catch up with them.
Mm-hmm.
A stronger part of the end of the season where they're playing some of the better teams in the league. I just think they're not going to be in flag contention. I still think they make the finals. I still think they'll be a tough out. I just don't see them getting to the last day in September and playing for a flag.
I agree. They are a finals team through and through. At least they should be. It will take a lot for them to drop out, but flag team, that's a different question at this point. But I'm hopping to the current top 4 right now. The Geelong Cats, who
All right, and
man,
I'm just gonna do that. I'm gonna save you a little bit. I'm gonna save you a little bit of time, Ross.
Yep, we're gonna run through these.
4th or 1, they're all flag. They're all contenders in my opinion.
Even
They're not in the top 4 because they're not in the top 4 for no reason.
Okay.
Geelong, I think with the experience and talent that they have, they can win. They're playing a different style of footy. Fremantle, if they can get a top 4 spot and be able to play at home for some of their games, that is a tough place to play. They're up and about. They've got a style that is just a pain in the ass to stop because defensively, they're one of the best teams in the entire competition. Offensively, they are progressing at a scary rate when they can. Melbourne, again, they've won a grand final. They've got a ton of talent. They've got a ton of superstars. If they find whatever they've lost, I'm still not sure what it is. If they find it, heaven forbid this league, because they can be an animal in the finals, no matter where they end up if they get in. And the Brisbane Lions, there's just so much offensive firepower.
It's ridiculous.
That they are going to be in a pain to stop. Their biggest issue, a lot like Carleton, is defensive. On the defensive side of the footy. Can they stop teams from scoring? If they can, Brisbane could be the foil to the Melbourne Demons back to back, or Fremantle's chance at winning flag mantles moniker forever. So I think the top 4 are all contenders. I think Richmond and the top 4 are the 5 teams right now I see as being your flag contenders. I worry about Carleton, I worry about Sydney, and I worry about St. Kilda right now. And even the teams outside, I just don't think they're there. I think they all have a chance of making the finals because they all have something they do very well. But those 5 teams right now are my contenders. Richmond's hanging on by a thread. If Richmond drops a game to, say, a Fremantle at Geelong and Melbourne at Brisbane, then I probably take their name out of that proverbial pool and leave it to those top 4 sides. Honestly, in my personal opinion, I think the top 4 is set. I think those 4 teams are going to be the top 4. I think Melbourne will get there, together, and I think they'll be fine.
But I guess
so.
That's going to be.
They would also. The scary part is they could also be the one. They could also be the one team that drops out and has Richmond come in because Richmond has a relatively favorable schedule. And if they can win games, you could see Richmond in the 4. And if Richmond make the 4, then they're still in that contender. They're still in that contender moniker.
You want to be fair though, to be at this point of the season, but to still have 5, it's at least 4 legitimate flag contenders, if not 5. That is gonna lead to a heck of a last bit of the season. To see if maybe people can jump out of that, but. We got some parity right now.
If Carleton didn't have their injuries, I'd have them there because their style is so hard to stop because they're contested footy beasts. If Sydney didn't have this whoopsie quarters where they give up 8, 9 or 7, 8 or 9 goals, they're there. St. Kilda early in the season was a flying contender.
Yes.
It's just right now. It's hard to say who's a contender pretender because there's still so much footy still to be played.
There is.
I mean, if we played this game in 6 weeks, we could be down to 3 teams.
Well, I guess I know what I'm putting in here in 6 rounds, and we're going to revisit this, and we're going to see.
Well, and remember, we did this last year. In a few weeks, we have to do our ladder predictors with 5 rounds to go. We did that last year. I think we should do it again this year.
Yes.
Do our ladder predictors on who we think is going to make the finals and who we think is going to win the grand final. I think we should do that again like we did last year, because I think that went over really well. And I think
I'm game.
We're a few rounds away from that, because we're sitting right now at round 15.
You want to do round 18?
We do it 5 rounds from the last. So 1, 2, 3. Click the wrong button. It would be round 19.
Okay, round 19. Well, you guys
19,
have something to
20,
look forward
21,
to.
22, 23. Yep.
So
going into round 19, after round 18,
okay.
At round 19 is when we will do our ladder predictor. So the last 5 games of the season.
Y'all better stay tuned for round 18 AFL
the
breakdown there. It's going to be... Oh, I remember it was fun last year, so I'm excited for that one.
And this year we should get comment section and fans. We should have them send in theirs.
You're going to. It's on us. You guys listening right now are gonna.
Yep.
Please.
Going into round 19, we want your ladder predictors and who you got in the final 8. So that'll be fun.
This is gonna be a lot of fun. But let's stick with the fun. Let's stick with the fun. And before we get to the one to blank Aaron tips, let's play a little bit of trivia. We're gonna hop into what I'm calling fact or fiction. I've found 5 statements I put together from historical facts that either I've made up, I've changed in a way, or they're actually true. So 5 chances for Donnie. Let's see if he can go positive on this one. There's some interesting questions that I found with this trivia. So it's up to Donnie to say if it is indeed fact or if it is fiction. And for you guys, go ahead, keep score at home as well, because I want to see if you can beat the coach. That's essentially the goal of this one. Beat the coach. But the first statement for fact or fiction is that the first team to win 4 flags in a row was the Richmond Tigers.
That's fiction, because they didn't win 4 in a row.
There you go. It is indeed fiction. Do you know who, bonus point, do you know who was the first team to do that?
Oh. Do you have years on you of what 4 years they did it?
No, I don't. That was it's the greatest team ever with the greatest player ever.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
My first thought was it was probably Collingwood back in the early days.
Yep.
It was either going to be Collingwood, Carlton, or Essendon, because of those are the three of the most premiership clubs in the country, because both Essendon and Carlton both have 15, I believe. So.
Yep. I guess it's just been a while for them poor Essendon. But that's 1 for 1 for Donnie right now. Statement number 2: the most amount of goals kicked in a single round by one player is 18.
I believe that's fact.
It is fact. It was from Fred Fanning of Melbourne. Kicked 18 goals against St. Kilda in round 18 of 1947. Mm-hmm. There we go. 2 for 2.
Because I think the last big score that I know of, I know Buddy kicked 13 down in Hobart, and that was
that with Hawthorn?
Almost 10 years ago. That was a while. That was a long time ago. And because it's like you had the Dunstan days where guys were kicking 8, 9, 10, 12 goals a game. So it's been a while since that. So it's like that's why the Bruce kicking 10 goals last year on North was such a surprise, because it's hard to get double figures in one game. Mm-hmm. So that's not something you see very often.
There we go. Coach, 2 for 2. Statement number 3: Geelong's Stephen Hawking sustained a split testicle injury during the 1989 grand final.
I believe that is fact.
It is fact. That sounds horrifying. One of my least favorite facts I've ever seen.
I heard about that because it's one of those things where, again, I listened to the Rush Hour out of Melbourne and Billy Brownless, and they were discussing the 89 grand final and how many guys had to go to hospital after that game. Like Dermot Brereton, the Hawthorn superstar, broke 2 ribs early in the game, stayed in the game, and had to go. So there's all sorts of injuries in that game, and it was an incredible game of footy. Like, I mean, that was nuts game of football. But yeah, I remember them talking about that Stephen Hawking ended up having a split testicle in that particular game.
That sounds horrifying.
Oh yes,
I would not like that.
makes me bend over a little bit.
Shout out to our 90% male audience feeling some pain right now. Oh man, that it makes you grit your teeth. But 3 for 3, that is awesome. Statement number 4, I might have to make this harder next time. But statement number
that one had a little bit of background information. That one I might not have gotten if I didn't know that. If I didn't listen to the podcast that I do.
That was pretty clutch. But number 4, 200 gamer Brett Lovett was drafted to Sydney for the 2001 season, but didn't manage to play a single game. Fact or fiction?
Oh, that's just one of those. You should ask, like, Sydney, you should know this. I really should know this.
That's why I wanted to include this.
I'm going to go fiction on this one just because I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, you got it right. Trust the gut. That's amazing. It was, in fact, Stephen Tingey. Tingey? I don't know.
Not sure on that one.
It was Stevie that was actually, he was a 200 gamer taken by Sydney for the 2001 season, but did not play in a single game. What a bummer that would be. But 4 for 4. Donnie is on top of it, and we're going to see if we can cap things off and go perfect, because statement number 5, a pig was thrown onto the SCG at a Sydney versus St. Kilda match in 1994. Fact or fiction?
There's a pig on the ground. That is fact.
There we go.
Plugger Lockett, if I remember correctly, Plugger Lockett's number was put on the side of the pig's back.
Number 4.
It was put onto the ground. Yep. His number was put on. So Plugger, and I remember, I've heard that particular call is, there's a pig on the ground. So it's absolutely hilarious. So that one, that was another one. My podcast and paying attention to the footy that I do, I actually knew that one.
That's amazing. Yes,
oh, I love it.
I love it. I was so tempted on that one just to be like a chicken.
Oh my god, that is that is absolute gold.
Let's go, Donnie. You killed that one. And now what? I think I really need to do a comparison on my own, because I need to hear that call. But also, I love when play-by-play commentators commentate in stuff that isn't a game, but that's going on. So a pig on the field, or the one that really springs to my mind, an NFL game from it might have been for 2 or 3 years back. It was a 49ers game. I think it might have been on Thursday Night Football. The 49ers play-by-play guy, there was a streaker on the field, and he called it perfectly. It was amazing. From the time he jumped onto the field to the time he was tackled by security, he nailed it. So if you guys have the chance, go ahead and check that one. I think just look up 49ers play-by-play streaker. You'll be able to find it. It's quality.
That is gold. That is absolute gold.
Of course, it's gold. It's the Niners. That's a good one.
If I knew we wouldn't get a strike, I would play it. I found the YouTube video with the call. There's a pig on the ground for Plugger Lockett.
Well, we're just going to link that one because YouTube's a bastard.
I found it. Yep, I will send it to you so you can throw it. So you can throw it in there if you want.
If I remember, it will be linked, because I don't want to mess with YouTube, because they're ran by horrible people that don't know how to manage a company made for the content production team. All right, you guys, shove it.
Yep. So it is.
That'd be fun if I get taken down.
It is in your text messages. It is in your text messages right now.
Yes, it is. I am definitely.
I love the video picture. The video picture is just as good.
Oh, I love it. I'm checking that one out. But Donnie, 5 for 5 on fact or fiction. I am increasing the difficulty next time we play this. So you've dug yourself in the hole, my friend. But I'm sure you'll still be able to go 5 for 5, because you just are a walking encyclopedia when it comes to footy. But let's know your thoughts or your scores on that one. Drop it in the comments. Hit us up on our socials. Did you go 5 for 5? Did you at least tie the coach? We'd love to see and just see which ones you got, which ones you guys got wrong. Let's know on that one. But before we get to team of the round in our tips, it's time for What the Blank. This is a segment where we fill in the blank as we say what the blank to the happenings of anything over the last week of footy. But one team that we've been talking about so far this show is the Richmond Tigers. One thing Donnie's been talking about is how they, and I agree, that they are currently a contender for the flag this year. But for those that don't know how this segment works, I got 3 statements for Coach Donnie. It's up to him to fill in the blank. There's a blank either the beginning, the middle, or the end of the statement. It's up to him to fill it in with whatever he so chooses. So, starting us off, the Richmond Tigers have become blank.
Scary. And I mean this because this is almost like they're kind of like the zombie that just won't die. Like that's the way Richmond has been. And the scary part about it is I've even seen some people pull up is that they've done this before in a couple of their premiership seasons. They've done this before. They've had a lull during the season. They lose a few games. People kind of go, it's over. They jump off, and then here they come.
Well, didn't that kind of happen last season as well?
It's happened before.
Yeah.
If I remember right in the COVID season in 2020, they did the same thing. They kind of mired back in 3rd and 4th and 5th, and people were kind of like, yeah, they just don't have it. And here they came. So that's kind of the way it is. So if you look at trends and if you look at the way Damian Hardwick has been able to get his guys going, and if they get healthy, they can keep Lynch healthy, they can keep Rewalt healthy, they can keep Grimes and some of their backline healthy. That is a scary team you do not want to face in the finals because of the style. That's the reason I called them a contender, because their style fits finals footy. So I would say scary would be the word I would put in front of Richmond right now, because they could be a scary matchup for anybody that makes the finals.
I just want to know how you kill a zombie tiger. Like, I really do. Is it? Do you have to light them on fire? Do you aim for the brain? Do you just have to? I don't know how you kill the Richmond Tigers. They're just this club that is unkillable, Donnie. It really feels like every single year they have something riding for them when it comes to finals hopes, or at the least finals hopes, if not flag hopes. It's quite remarkable, actually. Like, this is just a well-oiled machine that is Richmond Tigers. So it's going to be interesting. Especially, it's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back next year once their future Hall of Famer, Dusty Martin, heads to the Sydney Swans.
Oh boy, you're not letting that go.
Oh no, I won't. You know me too. You should know this by now. Come on now. It's just.
Oh, I do. I just like saying it.
Exactly. You guys know what to expect from me. It's at least I'm consistent. Okay, just like how Richmond's consistently in the finals pictures, even though you really don't want them to be. But statement number 2. Midseason report cards are out. Who is doing the best right now? Because the team or teams that get an A on their midseason report card are blank.
Oh boy, there's a couple that you could seriously say if they were getting marks for how their season was going, they would get an A. The first one that comes to mind, honestly, is the Fremantle Dockers, because you weren't expecting them there. Like, you were expecting them to potentially be a finals team. Like, they were going to be right in that 8th, 7th, 6th type of little area, 9th, 10th maybe. Them being 3rd is ridiculously better than I think a lot of people, even some Fremantle fans who I've been back and forth with.
We know some Freo fans that weren't expecting
they are overjoyed. They're out of their skin happy. The fact that they get a big win over Melbourne just before the bye weeks, it's hard not to let's mark up an A for Fremantle. But here's the thing though, maybe I'm stingy. I just don't see very many others, because Collingwood would be the only other team that I honestly could say I give them an A. And again, it's also because I did not see them there. I did not see them right in that opportunity where they're in that sweet spot to make the finals, to make the 8 for sure. Because it's like, if I look at other teams, I look at the Brisbane Lions. Well, I don't really want to give them an A, because they have been defensively frail at times and not been the best footy that I think they have. Melbourne, as I stated before their 3-game loss streaks, they never have played their best footy yet. I can't give you an A just for winning, because you aren't doing what you can. And your 3 losses in a row showed whatever wasn't working was really not working during those 3 games. So I can't give them an A. Geelong, inconsistencies and a loss and some losses that I think they shouldn't have lost. Sydney, they shouldn't have lost to Sydney early in the season. If as talented as they are, they probably shouldn't have lost that game. Again, hindsight's 2020. We didn't know kind of the way the season went. They would probably be the closest to an A, with probably about a B minus for me, because I think they're there. There's still some enigmas about them. Their ruck situation is an ever fluctuating situation, which really I think will hurt them eventually. Carlton, I could give them an A, but I'm not, because their injuries have clouded their game. I still don't know if they're defensively as sound, because they haven't been healthy all season. They have not had their top team out there. So I can't give them an A on something I haven't seen yet. So like they're a team, like I sit that CB category where it's like I could rate them higher, but I don't want to, because I haven't seen best Carlton yet. And again, it might be a little unfair, but I can't give you high marks for something that you haven't gotten. And
I think that's fair.
Scarily enough, could nosedive after over the next few rounds. Unfortunately, Sydney is another one, too inconsistent. Carlton, St. Kilda, too inconsistent. Richmond, they've lost some games they probably shouldn't have early in the season, so I can't. So Collingwood and Fremantle would be the only teams I would sit here and say A plus. Some people could go, Coach, you've been talking up Gold Coast. They've still dropped some games they probably shouldn't have.
I give them B. They're a solid B team.
Oh yeah, they're almost a B. They're B plus. They're right up there too. Yeah. I can't give them an A, because they've lost some games they probably shouldn't have.
Of course. So I mean, A teams, Freo, Collingwood, and of course North Melbourne as well. So moving on into the. Oh man, I wish I. See, it took a sec.
Oh jeez.
So, pull a little sneaky one on you.
I was like, what is he talking about? Like, that totally did not. Like, even my brain went, what?
It's gonna throw some people off. Definitely joking about that one. But last statement of what the blank is, I have the least amount of confidence in blank to finish out the last half of the season strong.
Well, I could take the low hanging fruit and say North Melbourne here. I really could.
Donnie, that's not low hanging. That is on the ground. In fact, I think that might be in the ground. I think it's so low hanging from the tree that's in the ground right now, and it's sprouting a new tree for more fruit to lowly hang from. Donnie, it's that low.
All right. Well, if you take them off
take
the
map here.
If you take them off, the team I can see ending the season the least fit strong. I don't want to say this, but right now their profile scares me, and that's Carlton. Which is really scary to think, a finals team. But I worry about them. I worry that all these injuries on the defensive front are just going to cause them so many headaches. And you're going to get some good teams playing in, which are going to expose it. And them, St. Kilda, and Sydney are the 3 teams right now I look at in the bottom 8 that I don't know I don't know how they could be, because there's still question marks that loom very large over each of those 3 clubs.
Yep.
But if I had to, I would pick Carlton of those 3, because I think Carlton has the most question marks hanging over them right now.
Yeah, they're just one of those teams where I feel like, they're going to be contained for a final spot. They might be contained for a spot in the prelims, but it's also, it's one of those things where I can't really put besides the injuries, of course, it's hard to really pinpoint what it is, but the Blues just don't feel as good as they used to, or as they were earlier this season. You know what I mean by that?
Mm-hmm.
It's not great, because I like the Blues. I want them to do well. It's just that it doesn't look like that might be the case here. But that's going to wrap it for what the blank? Sound off. Do you guys, what do you think the Richmond Tigers have become? Also, how do you kill a zombie tiger? I would love to see. I'm trying to prep, so please give me some advice. When the apocalypse hits, it's going to be zombie tigers. That's my prediction right here, Donnie. So, and you better get prepared now because it's not going to be pretty. Also, who would you give an A so far on the season? And who would you have the least amount of confidence in at the time being? But it's time. You know what time it is, guys. It happens this same spot in every show of every week. And it's the best list you could ever hope for your ears and brains to pick up on, because it is time for Coach Donnie's team of the round. And is it just Toby Green in every spot?
There for a while, you probably could have argued that Toby Green could probably take up most of the team, 7 goals this week. So, but no, I got my 22. I got my 22, and I don't think this is a bad 22, even for a six rounds. So, start on as always with the defenders again, continuing the great comeback story. Carlton's Sam Doherty, another great game, fantastic by the returning player again. Hard not to argue, absolutely best returning player this season. Essendon's Mason Redmond again. Essendon finding a win finally, and Mason Redmond having himself a day out in that particular game. Port Adelaide, I may be a Swans fan, but I know a great game when I see one. Riley Bonner, hell of a game, sir. Absolutely fantastic game for you, sir. Geelong's Tom Atkins, again, everybody talks about Tom Stewart, but Tommy Atkins and that defense for Geelong is starting to find a way to win games, even without their talisman that is Tom Stewart. So another great game there. GWS's Lockie Whitfield, again,
love it. Being
able to pinpoint passes and be able to go in and out of the midfield has made this gentleman a fantastic player. I'm glad to see him have some more success as the season goes on. Lockie Whitfield, GWS. And finally, Adelaide's Jordan Dawson, again, though I really wish he was still in Sydney, I got to give the young man some love. Still playing some great footy for the Crows. We jump to the Ruckman, and I'll give it to it. I probably should do both Ruckmans for St. Kilda, but I'm going to tip this one to Rowan Marshall. Will be the starter for the Ruck. Yeah, because they both had relatively very close, similar lines when it came to it. We jump to the mids. Richmond's Shy Bolton, again, another incredible game. The whole ball holdout thing on Doherty, let's not get into that. I have my opinions. Maybe
the reason we haven't talked about it yet.
I'm not going to talk about it. I have my opinions. My opinions are my own.
Follow Donnie on Twitter for his opinions on this. Coach has 40.
And even sometimes I even hold off on that. The next two midfielders, I got to get both St. Kilda's, Jade Gresham and Jack Billings, with incredible games for the St. Kilda Saints, putting up big numbers in that particular ones. And a great return by Geelong, Sam Menengola, coming back, giving some run and gun off the wing for GWS. And last but not least, continuing his absolutely in fuego form is GWS's Stephen Canelio, continuing his fuego.
Is this going to be 4 Giants?
We'll see. All right, okay, we jump to the forwards, and again, unlike last week where I was pulling teeth to try to find enough guys to be able to, this week I didn't have a lot of trouble because
there's a 7, a couple 5s,
7s, a 5, and 3 and 4 4s. So that pretty much made up the forwards. We start off Essendon's Peter Wright, again, 2-meter Peter, playing fantastic up front, a guy that you absolutely cannot stop when he gets going. We jump to 2 guys, both in the same game on 2 different teams. On one side, Port Adelaide's Todd Marshall absolutely lit up Dane Rampy. Got to give my tip to him. Todd Marshall continuing to play excellent footy, even with Charlie Dixon back. And on the other side of the field, Sydney's Isaac Heaney finally kind of found his mojo after a few rounds. He was a little suspect for many Sydney Swans fans. It was great to see him. We've already talked about him.
Did he kick 4?
He kicked 4.
So in this game. You want to? I will have to find the tweet a little bit. I can find the tweet as you go. But after he kicked his first one, I tweeted that he's kicking 4. So, so
You're
I just
becoming
want to
Nostradamus a little bit, sir.
Well, I'll put that one out there.
That is awesome. All
Keep
right.
going. I'm gonna see if I can find that tweet then.
And we've already talked about him a couple of times. Hard not to argue. Player of the round. GWS is Toby Green. 7 goals. Fantastic, sir. Absolutely. Yeah. And the funny thing is that 2 more guys who were also in that game, both on the Western Bulldogs, also made forward line as Aaron Naughton and Cody Waitman both make it in to the starting lineup. And I got to ask, sir, did you see the dislocated elbow that Cody Waitman suffered in that game?
I would prefer not to.
That was hard to watch. That was hard to watch because I actually saw it happen. So that is insane. Heck of an effort. And the crazy part is he may be available for selection this week. That is insane to see him still be able to come back this week. Probably not, but he's there for selection. We jump to the bench. Gold Coast David Swallow, an incredible game by Gold Coast, continuing to win footy games. Great job by them. In the midfield, Western Bulldogs, Jack McRae, again, putting up big numbers, getting goals, making a big impact for the Doggies. Also for the Western Bulldogs, the Ruckman, it seems like he always finds a way onto my team, and that's Tim English, the Ruckman. And last but not least, the forward from the Carleton Blues, big old Harry Mackay. So that will be my team of the round for round 14.
You know what? The Giants may not have come away with the dub this round, but they also did pretty well when it comes to your team of the round, which of course is the only thing that matters. And I also have DM'd it, but yes, I did in fact tweet after Heaney kicked his first one of the night, which was a hell of a goal. I was just feeling it. Heaney is kicking for today. Tweeted by Ross.
And he forwarded the tweet to confirm it. So I can confirm that tweet is legit. He tweeted 4 goals for Heaney.
I'll leave in. If you guys want to check the Twitter account, if you want to be up there, I am just going to quote tweet it for you guys as well. So you go hit us up at Fourth Lawn Media. Quote tweet it myself. And I just had a feeling for these things. I tried to speak positive into the Sydney Swans. I guess it wasn't enough unless you had Isaac Heaney on your fantasy football team, which unfortunately I did not.
I know who does.
Shut up! I know.
Gil has Isaac Heaney and Buddy Franklin both on his team.
It's stupid. I hate it. But it's okay because I didn't play him this round.
Well, that's who I play this round.
Who do you?
Yep, I play Gil this round.
Oh, that's gonna be a fun one.
It'll be interesting. I got through the bye rounds 3-0. I was surprised. I actually was thoroughly surprised. I went from just outside the finals to now in 4th place.
Yeah. I'm still working on them. And speaking of something I'm still working on, it's trying to catch Brad in this damn tipping competition we got going amongst the 4 of us here. So you guys know what time it is. Team of the round's gone. We're gonna cap things off. Our tips for round 15 of the AFL season. And as we talked about earlier, it is going to be a frickin' bloodbath. We got all the top 8 teams playing each other in the first 4 games of the round, I believe. In fact, maybe not quite. Maybe no, one of them isn't, or a couple of them aren't. But scratch that. We got the top 8 teams playing each other. That's all that matters here. I just have fact-checked myself a little bit. Is what it is. The schedule makers could have done a better job, but I forgive them nonetheless. But this round, if the last round wasn't a pain in the ass to tip, this round definitely is. I'm still a couple games behind first place. Donnie caught up to me after an abysmal round on my behalf when it comes to tipping. Let's not talk about it because we don't need to get into the specifics. New round, new day, new opportunities here. And I still do have for you guys my bold tip of the round. And shoot, honestly, maybe a few of them here. So we're going to see on this one.
This is the round it could potentially happen because there's so many close games that even some of them really aren't even upsets. That's the crazy part about it.
This round is just insane. But starts off, it's going to be Melbourne and the Brisbane Lions. This is one where Brisbane comes into here as a fairly large margin underdog, not only on the odds from the odds makers, but from the tipsters as well. This was an interesting one for me, but I'm taking the Brisbane Lions in this one.
I'm with you only because is that May's been out for several weeks, so I want to know what his fitness is.
I
Max
just think
gone
that
is
Brisbane can outscore Melbourne. It's almost as simple as that.
well,
I think
and,
they can.
I 100% agree with you with that. Like that is, but I'm let me dive in just a little bit on it, a little bit more, just in to kind of go off how I'm seeing this. Brisbane hasn't played the MCG very often, so this whole they've lost their last 9 straight. I take nothing into that at all. I look at it like this: Melbourne. One of the ways that they get on top of most people is the Jackson Gone combination. Well, Gone's out for a month. McInerney now only really has to focus on Jackson. Is he as athletic and run around the field as much as Jackson? No, but he's bigger, he's stronger, and I think he'll be able to dominate, especially some of the throw-ins that I think Brisbane's going to get a little more of the footy out of the contest, which I think may affect Melbourne a lot because it's going to make their defenders have to defend one-on-one a lot more than they probably expected. Danaher, Cameron, Hipwood, all healthy, all playing well. Who does who get? May will most likely take either Hipwood or Danaher. Lever will get the other one. My thing is attack the guy that Lever has, because Lever wants to be off and be the intercept marker. If he's got to play one-on-one, he is at a disadvantage. Cameron's got to find a way to get crumbs, and if he can get crumbs, he's got to kick goals. If he kicks goals, Brisbane can win this game. That is the $1 million way to beat. If they can put points on the board, put scoreboard pressure on the board, Melbourne is gettable. I'm going to tip Brisbane also as well, just because I just think where Brisbane can get Melbourne, they have strength. They have a lot of really good players in those particular spots. So I'm going to tip what some would say the upset, but I don't think this is as big an upset as some people would say. I got the Brisbane Lions here.
I love it. We're going to see how that works out. Next up is going to be the Western Bulldogs and the Hawthorn Hawks. I definitely don't want to count Hawthorn out on this one, but I am going to ride the hot hand with the Doggies.
I'm going to tip the Doggies, but I'm a little leery on this one because Tim English is out due to late onset concussion symptoms. So he's in concussion protocol. So he'll be out for at least this game for sure. My thing is, again, the Doggies' weakness is their defense. Their strength is their midfield. Their somewhat weakness, but I think could become a strength in the next few weeks, is their offense, because it sounds like Bruce could be back as early as this week. He had a nice little run. I still think he's in the VFL this week, along with Lockie Hunter, who's back from his little absence for mental health.
Okay.
So I'm going to tip the Doggies, but this is the wait and see one, because if the Hawks can stay in this, put a little bit of fear, the Hawks have a shot. Like, legitimately, they're in this. I know, at least on my tipping thing, has 92-8, 92 for the Doggies, 8 for the Hawks. I seriously thought about the Hawks, especially when I found out Tim English was out of this game, because that's a massive equalization for the Hawks in the midfield battle when it comes to the ruck contest, because if English was there, he could have dominated and given the Doggies first footy a lot more than the Hawks. This equalizes the ruck battle out, which I think equalizes the midfield battle, which I think could equalize the game as a whole. I'm going to tip the Doggies, but this one is close. I think this is under 2 goals. I think this comes down late in the fourth quarter. I think the Doggies edge it because they have just enough firepower to score. But this is going to have some Western Bulldogs fans on heart palpitations, as close as this potentially could be.
Yeah, I won't be too surprised about that one. Man, the Hawthorn Hawks sometimes just have that really great way of being that thorn in your side, putting the thorn in Hawthorn in that one. But next game, Donnie, bold tip. For the first time since round 4 of the 2022 AFL season, the West Coast Eagles are going to get 4 points, because even though Eston may be riding high from their big win this round, the West Coast Eagles are having reinforcements being shipped onto the roster this time. It's going at Optus, and also Eston is still not that fantastic of a team. So the West Coast Eagles, they get it done. They get it done this round.
Oh, I seriously did think about this. I really did. But here's how I'm gonna counteract it. If Jeremy McGovern was still playing for West Coast this week, he didn't have he's been in hospital a couple of times, broken ribs, had to have surgery. He's out for at least a few weeks.
Mhm.
If Jeremy McGovern was playing in this game, I'd have tipped West Coast, and I'd tip West Coast without even thinking twice. But that is a huge loss on the defensive side, and they still don't have Nick Nui. So I
Mhm.
think Draper in the rock battle, I think will even things out. Parrish will be back. Yes, they lose McGrath, but they get Parrish back. I think Essendon just has enough. I think
Mm.
West Coast. I think this should be a week early for their renaissance. Like
Yeah.
I think it's coming. I think
It's,
they're
the
beating
revival's
teams.
coming.
Exactly. Like it's kind of weird to say. I think it's coming. I just think we're a week early. I think the McGovern injury kind of sets them back a little bit.
Mhm.
Yes, they've got some good ins. It sounds like Liam Ryan will be back this week, but
Nice.
I don't like that injury because I think that injury makes it harder for Barras because now he's got to try to guard Peter Wright with no help,
Yeah.
and that is a horrible matchup for the West Coast Eagles. So I'm going to tip Essendon in this one, but this is a dandy for a 16 versus 18. This is an intriguing game for
It could actually be must-watch TV on this one,
me.
which is
And it's a
quite
Friday.
funny.
It's a Friday night, and it's a Friday night game.
Yeah, but no offense to anything, I'm not waking up at 4:30 in the morning for this game. I'm just not. I'll catch the highlights, but we'll see if
Well,
I.
the issue I run into is that both of those games will be running at the same time. So I got to
Oh
decide which one
yeah,
I'm going to watch and which one I'm going to watch on replay.
I think one is going to
I'll
be more
probably watch the I'll
entertaining.
probably watch the Doggies Hawthorne game because that's the first one,
That's some finals implications on there too.
and exactly,
Not
and
sure if
that
the
one
Eagles and Dons are fighting for a spot in the
it'll
top
still be
eight at this point.
it'll still be a good game, and
Yeah.
I'll probably still watch it. But it is one of those where it's like I'll probably watch the Doggies Hawthorne game because I think that might be a little more intriguing.
Mhm.
Again, as you said, it's got finals implications on it.
Yes, it does. And another game with some big time finals implications on it is the Frio Dockers taking on Carlton at Marvel Stadium. Tippers and odds makers agree that Frio are the favorites in this one, and I agree with them. I think this is going to be a dangerously close game. But man, Don, you remind me. I remember because I think this is my first year getting into footy. There's this giant drama with after the siren goal. Was that Frio and Carlton, right?
Jack Noon's
Yeah.
at Optus Stadium getting the controversial free kick, even though he probably shouldn't have been him. He buries it and beats Fremantle after the siren shot.
See, I had no idea why that was
these two have
controversial. I just
history.
knew it was a nightmare.
Yeah,
for those fans.
these two have history for sure. I'm going to tip Fremantle also as well on this one, and it's just because of the vulnerabilities on defense. It sounds like Matt Taberner should be back for the Fremantle Dockers, which
Mhm.
I think for Carlton, that is the worst possible news you could possibly get. You probably might not have minded the mosquito fleet with the occasional throw in of Fife, but if Taberner comes in, that gives you a big body guy that you just don't have very many guys to guard him,
Mhm.
which is only going to make it that much harder. Only going to make it that much harder. So I'm going to have Fremantle in this one, but Carlton can score, so Carlton can stay in this.
They can.
I'm fascinated to see who gets Mackay and who gets Kerno of their defenders. I'm fascinated by this because Pierce usually takes their biggest, tallest forward.
Mhm.
Does he take Mackay or does he take Kerno? And then who gets the other? So that'll be fascinating to see the matchups in the defense on the defensive side for Fremantle. Who takes who and how do they do?
It's a great point right there. We're going to get a lot of answers or a lot of questions answered really early in that game. So that's going to be a lot of fun there. Next game we're going to step into, head on over to the MCG where the Geelong Cats are somehow a home team in this one. Fixture makers kind of screwed them. Definitely a two very different type of grounds is this one between MCG and the GMHBA Stadium. But nonetheless, Geelong Cats and Richmond Tigers, this is going to be a damn good game, Donnie. I think if we want to talk about it after the siren goal, we might as well get one here because The Richmond Tigers are only a 4-set underdog. This is a really hard one to tip. I'm going with Geelong, but man, this might be game of the round for me.
This one made me double take so many times, especially when I found out it was the MCG.
If only it was at the GMHBA, it would be so much easier to tip.
Yes and no. It would neutralize Richmond's pressure game a tiny bit because it'd be a lot easier to get out of their off defensive 50. The wider ground actually normally would have hurt Geelong, but Geelong's been kind of playing a little bit quicker footy, which I think can help them attack this stingy, miserly Richmond defense that occasionally can be quite a pain to try to beat.
Well, maybe not even just recent, but Geelong, it really feels like their offense feels different watching it this year because
it is.
We all know it's though, kick mark, get to the make entrance, kick a goal. They're playing like it's almost like I'm watching Brisbane in a different colored Guernsey. It's great.
I don't know about Brisbane. That's a little extensive.
Maybe in terms of pacing. In terms of pacing, it feels.
Yeah, Geelong's one of those teams that when they're on, they're on. Yeah. But when they're off, sometimes they can be very off. So I'm going to tip Geelong in this one. I think Hawkins and Cameron are going to be matchup nightmares because Grimes is going to have to pick one. Tarrant may have to take the other, even though Terrence on an injury cloud with a broken hand. Bolta's out with a hamstring injury, so you don't have that big body guy to move back. I don't think they have that secondary big body to be able to handle Jezza Cameron. I think Liam Baker might get the fun of trying to take out Tyson Stengel. So that'll be a fascinating matchup to see. And it's just with the new DeConning kid, I think he'll probably get the Lynch matchup. So I like the matchups on Geelong's side more than I like the matchups that would be on Richmond's side.
Yeah.
So I just think Geelong's got enough. Again, the ground is going to even out because it's going to give more Richmond Tigers fans the ability to get into the ground, which is going to be a major disadvantage to the Cats.
Yeah.
But the Cats have been a team that they've been able to kind of weather the storm. So I'm going to tip the Cats in this one. This is going to be a dandy.
I'm telling you, this is going to be a really, really fun game. I am super excited about it. But going into the last few games of the round, we got the Sydney Swans and the St. Kilda Saints, bottom two teams in the current top 8 standings. Sydney needs to make a statement. They need to make a statement bad, and I think they should be able to get it done against the Saints in this one.
This is a game of which team do you trust? Which team do you trust of two teams that are not playing well? I'm gonna go Sydney just because I think Sydney has been a little bit more confident, and I think St. Kilda is a little rattled. Like if I'm Sydney, as I stated earlier, I think it was more on Port playing up to their ability than it was Sydney playing badly. I think Sydney looked like they played badly because Port played so well. I don't think Sydney had a horrible game. I just think they ran into a buzzsaw.
Port had the game of their season, essentially.
Where St. Kilda, they were insipid. They were uninspired, which is fascinating because they were playing for a fallen hero in the Danny Spud Froley game, which is kind of an indictment a little bit on the playing group a little bit. I just that can seep into a squad. They do get Jack Steele back, which I think is a big addition, but I like the way Sydney plays in the midfield. I think they'll be able to balance it out. Really, after King, there really isn't a dangerous forward. So I think that'll help Paddy McCartan be able to sit off an intercept mark, which I think helps the Swans defense be able to repel out of defensive 50.
Yeah.
And I just don't. Dougal Howard will get the Buddy Franklin matchup, but if Isaac Heaney's playing as well as he can, Papley can get a few goals pop up here. Parker can shift forward. I think the Swans have enough firepower to be able to win this game. But this really is kind of the booster for one of these teams, because whoever wins this will get that little puff of fresh air underneath their wings to be able to maybe push them up into the finals, into solidifying themselves a little bit. Where the loser, honestly, they sit there and now all the question marks are, can they stay in the finals?
the loser's going to have a lot of explaining to do in this game. Especially, it depends
Got a
on the
lot
final outcome
explaining
as
to
well.
do.
Especially if either team loses by 30, that is if it's a close game.
If it's a big loss, it's even worse.
Exactly. It's I don't want to be the opposing coach in front of the media after, or the losing coach in front of the media after this one. There's going to be some tough questions that they are going to be answering. Next game, I was almost tempted to just pick North Melbourne for my bold tip of the round. I didn't go through with it because I just don't believe in them. But I'll take Adelaide in this one. Over
I legitimately I have heard some podcasters that have tipped North Melbourne to win that game because of the fact it's down in Hobart. Like legitimately, I have seen people tip North Melbourne in that game against Adelaide because it is in Hobart. So I'm gonna tip Adelaide because, again, I think Adelaide's a team that when they're on, they're on. When they're off, I don't think when they're off they're as bad as North has been playing. So I think Adelaide's got a little too much there. Taylor Walker, I think, will have a great game. I'm going to tip the Crowies in this one.
Hey, Walker kicks 5 and makes you the team of the round. That's my prediction for that one. I know I've said that before. It'll be right eventually, as long as I keep on saying it. Right?
You're gonna wish it into existence.
Exactly. Right? No matter how many years it takes me. But we'll go. Second to last game, we got Collingwood and the GWS Giants. I would love to tip GWS in this one, but I cannot. I will tip. You know what? As long as it's a close game and Mason Cox kicks, 3 goals, I'll be cool. So, dream scenario here, Donnie. Mason Cox kicks 3. The Giants win this game. Is that going to happen? Probably not. But I'll tip to Collingwood. I think it'll be a close game though.
I'm gonna say this, and I mean this seriously. If this game was a Giants stadium, I'd tip the Giants in this one. Legitimately, I'm gonna tip Collingwood because the game is at the MCG. Mm-hmm. I think the fan base will help kind of bring up the mood a little bit, because I think there's still some Collingwood fans that Jordan De Goey will be a big loss. He'll be the biggest hole since a black hole. I don't think De Goey is as big a loss as some people think it is. I think this team is playing really well. I like their style. GWS, again, kind of like I said last week, their wins are against bad teams. They're not winning against good teams, so this is not a bad team.
They're almost winning against some good teams. That counts for something, right?
Again, Western Bulldogs, I don't think they're as good a team as they were last year because of their defensive frailties. So, but I'm gonna look at it like this a little bit, is that I'm not sleeping on GWS. I think GWS is there. I just think Collingwood. I'm getting the rivals mixed up.
Oh, you're going to get
losing
destroyed.
their minds right now.
Oh no!
I just think Collingwood is just strong enough they'll be able to handle. But GWS, I think, is going to test them. GWS is going to make them have to think a little bit in this game. Collingwood wins this, but the Giants, I think, are in this into the fourth quarter.
I'd be okay with that. You take what you can get in this one. Oh man, but this last game is going to be real interesting when it comes to finals implications, because it is Port Adelaide and the Gold Coast Suns, two teams arguably fighting, they're a loss away from being booted from the finals. So this is going to be a really insane game. I don't like the odds on this one necessarily. About $1.40 for Port and about $3 for the Gold Coast. I thought the Gold Coast would be in this one a little bit more. Tipsters are definitely going with the Port on this one, 87% according to the AFL website as well. I really want to tip Gold Coast, but also Port Adelaide, their form recently has been real solid.
This is another one of those. The venue helps me a little bit. Make this a little bit of an easier tip. If this was up at Metricon, I'd probably would be tipping Gold Coast, because it would even out the warmer climate. I think would even everything out a little bit, make the ball a little bit slippery, which I think would help Gold Coast in their style.
Yeah.
The way I saw, if Port plays the game that they played against Sydney, they will beat Gold Coast. They will win this game, because there's just so much skill and firepower on this team when they play at their top. Mm-hmm. Butters is out with a little bit of a hyperextended knee. He'll be out for a couple of weeks. How will that kind of handle? Does Boak should come back in? So there's your even swamp for Butters. Boak will come in. He's not the same player as butters, but he brings in a lot of things. I just like Port here. I just think Port has just enough. Stewie Doo, I love you, man. I really love what you're doing. I just think you're running into a team that shouldn't be 12th. They should not be 12th on the roster. A absolute shit house first 5 games of the season really kind of hurt them.
To say the
And
least.
they're paying for it right now. Port wins this one, but Gold Coast is gonna be competitive. They're gonna be in this. This is another. I'm so many of these games I think are going to come down to the fourth quarter. This is going to be an elite round of footy if it turns out the way I think it could be. That this is a Gold Coast is going to be in this. They're not going to shy away. They're going to get after it. Stewie Doo is not going to let this team come in and roll over. They're going to come in and get after it. Whoever loses this one, unfortunately, I think their final season is over. They are done. Put a line through them. It's over. But the winner may put themselves with that jumping board into the finals. We'll have to see, especially if it's Port, because this gives them another win against a top 12 side with a chance to get themselves some positive momentum going at the end of the year. I'm going to tip Port on this one, but this could be another dandy.
Man, it is going to be a hell of a round to look forward to. If round 14 wasn't crazy, round 15 is going to get absolutely absurdly wild. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it for us on this one. Thank you so much for tuning in, especially sticking to the end. If you are still here, we're just gearing up for a unbelievable round of footy. There are finals spots on the line. There are seasons on the line at this point, and I cannot wait for you guys to join us again next week. But before you head out, make sure to follow us Twitter, Instagram at Fourth and Long Media. Hit up Coach Johnny at Coach Has 40 on both platforms as well. Find everything at thefourthandlong.com. And most importantly, when you're done listening to this, go ahead and check out, because Coach Johnny has been working his ass off, and he put out another great interview with, you know, for how much we kind of crap on Victorian media, this was a hell of an interview.
Oh, Mr. Daniel Cherney. And the best part about that was he actually him and the AFLW website kept me up at 4 a.m. on Sunday because two top tier Victorian players, both nominated New South Wales, meaning Sydney's state of origin for drafting. So I from 4:30 on Sunday morning, I could not sleep. I was so excited. Two elite level players, both top 10 caliber type of players, are potentially up for grabs for Sydney, considering Sydney has the first.
EWS, though, huh?
Well, no, they'll both go to Sydney because Sydney has the first 5 picks of the New South Wales.
Yeah, but Sydney's going. They're going to biff it. They're going to biff it, and it's just is what it is.
Really, you're seriously going to go there? Come on, dude. Come on. And this is kind of a great segue to end the episode. I'm going to say is keep an eye out on the Donnie's disposals. I have something big in the works, ladies and gentlemen. Potentially. I'm not going to say I have. This is not confirmed. I may have an AFLW superstar potentially coming on the podcast very, very soon. Keep an eye out on my socials. Dude. Keep an eye out on the on the Fourth and Long socials, because if this young lady comes through, and I think she will, this will be fantastic chat here. I cannot wait for this. I will give, if you want clues, reach out on social media. Let me know. I will give you clues on who this potentially could be. If you want
clues, Donnie will teach you about who it's going to be.
I will tease it so bad. I really hope this comes through. I'm working on some other ones. I have another one arranged for August that I think is fantastic. I cannot wait. I will also discuss that one a little bit closer. And for those of you that are AFLW fans, AFLW draft is coming up next week. In the next week or so, I will have the off-season roundup on how everything happened in the off-season, get us ready for the season, and then come the bye week of the men's AFLW returns. I cannot wait for this. I'm going to be a very busy man come August, September, October, with my footy team here, in the AFLW and AFL, the finals still.
It's going to be a great time of year, man.
It is going to be absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait for it. So keep an eye out on the socials, keep an eye out on the website, keep an eye out on the YouTube channel, because hopefully, very hopefully, I could have an AFLW superstar joining me for a chat.
So you better not. You guys really don't want to miss that. So that means you have to go ahead, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on our podcasting platforms as well, and follow us on both social media accounts. But Coach Donnie, your thoughts on zombie cats in one word or phrase?
Oh boy. Oh geez, what to take this seriously to make a mockery of it. Oh, you know what? We'll have fun with it. Blasphemous. I'm gonna say blasphemous. I just don't think it's not gonna happen. There's not gonna be zombie tigers, though it would be quite interesting to see what a zombie tiger would do. So, but it is blasphemous to discuss that particular topic, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, at least we all know who to blame when there's a brand new disease that pops up that affects only tigers and they start take over the world. It's all your fault, Donnie, and thanks for dooming us. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Stick until the end. We love you guys, and we'll see you after a bloodbath of round 15. Catch you in the next one.